Hello everyone and welcome to week 3 of Tuesday's tags for Christmas. The tags that I'm going to be creating today are going to be using the Holiday Village stamp and thin cut set. I love these houses and the church, I think they're just gorgeous, but today's tags are going to be a little small tag and I'm using the trees and this little gift. And you can see with the shaded images here, they all have dies or thin cuts that go with that set. So there's quite a lot of thin cuts contained within this set. The tags that I'm going to be using are both in the core catalogue and you can find them on page 61. There's the buildable tags, which is a new release from September this year. And then there are the tags and tabs thin cuts, which have 4 in the set. They've been around for a little while and it's great to still have them in the core catalogue. The piece that I'm going to take from the buildable tags is this little tag topper. It fits perfectly over the circles for these tags as well, so it's really great that they interchange. As you can see, I've gone ahead and I've cut the tags. I'm using the square shaped ones. And the first one I'm going to do today is an embossed tag. So the first thing I need to do is my stamping. I'm going to flip my mat over, put down some scratch paper because I'm going to be going off the edge, and I'm going to create a background. I'm just prepping the area here with my anti-static pouch. And I need some Versamark ink, and I'm just using this one tree image for the background. Because it's a small area, I don't want to make it too busy, and I'm going to just be doing some random stamping and filling in areas and rotating my stamp. I'm going to do the top half of the tag first, and then I will move on to the bottom half. So I can ink up quite a big area of this before I need to do my white embossing powder. The ink does stay wet for a while, and I am stamping here onto kraft cardstock. So this is done. I'm leaving this part here because I want something to hold on to. I'm going to bring in my white embossing powder, sprinkle that over the area. I really do love kraft paper with white embossing. I've got a little bit here that has come onto the area that I'm just going to flick off with a paintbrush, and then I'm going to bring in my heat gun and heat set this. And you can see the powder has melted and it's gone all shiny, and then I can do the remaining section of this using exactly the same method. So I'm just filling in the areas, not putting them over the top of each other. And that will finish that off, and then I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the embossing powder and heat setting that. So here it is, all heat embossed, and I think this would make a very cute tag just on its own. You don't need to do anything else to this. If you don't want to, you can just make some random stamped backgrounds and you've got your tags. But I'm going to put some stamped images over top of this. And I'm going to do some colouring with my tri-blend markers. I'm using the Jade Green shades and the Jade Green blend because I want a little bit of depth to this. So for the trees, it's not going to take very long to do this. I'm using the mid of the Jade Green shades, and I'm going up one side of the tree with where the larger pieces are to colour, and then I'm going to bring this back in on the right side of the tree. I'm not worried about a light source or anything for this image. I just want to put some colour on and then go in with my Jade Green blend and the lightest, and I'm going over top of everything that I have just done. Normally when I do colouring, I like to think about where the light source is coming from and colour the images accordingly. But for this, I just want some fun colours on the page and some effects. So now I've got my Jade Green blend, the mid colour, and I'm bringing that in to smooth it out a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with the darkest colour, which is on the Jade Green shades, and just go where I put that dark on the edges, just to give a little bit more depth. And then I'm going to come back in and just fix this up here and there where I think it needs a little bit more depth with the mid. And that's it for the colouring for that tree. And then I'm going to use muted brown on the trunk of the tree with the lightest shade, and then just give that a little bit of depth on each side. So with this smaller tree, I've gone in with the darkest of the shades, then the lightest. You can mix up the colours however you want to do it. Then the lightest of the blend, and I'm bringing that colour all the way down. And then just bring up other colours to blend it in just a little bit. And the same with the trunk. I'm doing the darkest on the outside and the lightest in the middle. And this long skinny one here is exactly the same sort of thing. I'm skipping like I did with this one. I'm going every second. Now, what one have I got here? I've got the blend. I actually want the shades. I'm going into the mid colour, and I'm doing this every second stripe because I want differentiation at the bottom. And then I'm going in with my lightest colour and going over top all the areas that I haven't coloured in. Then I'll bring this back in with the darkest at the bottom to give a little bit more depth. And I'm going to bring the mid down a little bit more on those every second ones. That doesn't make any sense. On every second one to match what I did at the bottom. And then with the mid, I'm just blending this out in the lightest one. And on the trunk, I'm going in with the muted brown again and just putting a little dab at the top and the bottom, and then a little light bit. For the stars on these trees, I've got my gold yellow blend, and I've just gone in with the mid. And then I'm going to cut these out with the dies, and then I'll be back to attach them to the tag. I've put the tag topper on the front of this one, and I'm just going to wait to put the tag topper on the base. When I do tags, I do like to double back them. I like to give them a little bit more strength. So I do cut an extra one and adhere it together. I keep all of my scraps and cut-offs from my scrapbook pages so that I can cut tags and little pieces and everything from them. So there I have my double-backed one, and then I can put my tag topper on the back. I like to finish it off on the back side as well as the front. And before I adhere the trees, I am going to put the little gifts along the bottom. So I'll just bring in my scratch paper again. I'm going to heat emboss it. So I'm just stamping these little gifts along the bottom of the back. They don't have to be perfectly even. It's just to give a little finishing touch to the tag, and now I'm going to heat set that. So that's the back of the tag done, and the front we're going to attach these little trees. So I'm going to stagger these so that they're not quite all in a line. I'm going to put these ones on the outside at the back and then make a feature of this one at the front. So a little bit of liquid glue, and this one I'm going to apply some foam tape to. I'm just going to use these 3D foam dots, and I have two sizes in the pack, so there are large ones and small ones. And then all that's left to do is to string it. This is just some cotton twine that I've got in my stash. I think I picked it up from Kmart. I quite like a simple twine on the craft style tag. So that's that one all done. Doesn't take long to do it all. And now I'm going to work on the second one, and this is where we're going to get a little bit inky with Distress Oxide Inks. So I'm going to do exactly the same sort of thing that I did with this first one, but instead of doing the heat embossing, I'm just going to be using Vintage Photo. I'm going to stamp off and do second generation. So I just need to cover this up, and then we can go on to the next step. So if you don't want to do heat embossing at all, you can stamp directly onto the tag and create your own pattern paper. Now I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending, and I'm going to go around the edges with my mini blending tool with Vintage Photo. I've just picked that up and gone very lightly along the middle. I want the edges to have more of the ink and the depth. I don't want the middle to be quite as dark. So I'm creating a fairly vintage distress type look on this background piece. And to give it even more depth, I'm going to come in with black soot and just go around the outside edge of the tag. And that's my tag base done. Now I'm going to give exactly the same treatment to these thin cut trees. I'm not going to stamp the images on these, and you can see these two hold their shape very well. This one has where the stamped element of this star is. I'm going to trim this bit off. So I'm just going to go up with my scissors, turn it around and come back down. And don't worry if you go a little bit off like that. We are going to be blinging this up a little bit with some gems. So I'm doing the same thing that I did with the tag. I'm going around the edges. I'm actually going to pick these up because they are fairly small, and bring in the Vintage Photo. And I'm getting a little bit inky on my fingers, but that's part of the fun. And you can see that deepens up the colour quite a bit and gives it a lovely distressed look. So I'm going to do that to all three of the trees. And I'm going to come in with black soot. I'm not going to ink this back up again because there is already some on the sponge. And I'm going around the outside of these thin cut pieces just to give them a little bit more definition. I want them to have some depth and some texture. And then I'm going to come back in with Vintage Photo and just blend back into that black soot a little bit. This is so much fun to do. I really love using the Distress Oxide inks. You don't have to use them with water all the time. You can just ink up edges and make things feel a little bit vintagey. To add a little bit more to these trees, I'm going to bring in my spray box and I'm going to do some flicks of white on them using this Media Gloss Spray, the glossy acrylic spray white. So you need to give this a good shake. You can hear the ball shake. And rather than using the spray nozzle, because I want to do flicks of this, I'm just going to take the straw out and tap it and add some white. Now this could be snow, it could be fairy lights. So while that's drying, I'm going to assemble my tag exactly the same way we did before. I'm going to do a double layer of cardstock. I'm going to bring my vintage photo back in and just go around the edges of the back of the tag. And don't forget to go along the sides as well, so that you don't see any of the white on the edges. I'm going to do the same with black soot. Go around all the edges. Then I can attach my tag toppers. And just like we did on the other tag, I'm going to stamp the little gifts on the back of the tag. And now these are dry, I can assemble them to the front of the tag just like we did before. I'm going to bring in some gold glitter gems to put on top of the Christmas trees. So some small ones for these ones off to each edge, and then a larger one for the top of this tree here. So here are the completed tags. I will put some still shots up at the end of the video so you can have a closer look at these. I love how the white embossing and the kraft all works, and putting the tag topper in a contrasting colour, so the white on top of kraft, works really well. And having the little stamped gifts on the back of the tag is a really nice touch for where you write your to and from message for your gift. I really love how these look with the vintage style to them, and bringing in some ink onto the thin cut pieces. You don't even need to stamp the images on there. You can just thin cut them out, distress them up with a bit of Distress Oxide ink, and then flick on some of the white gloss spray just to finish them off. So that's week 3 of my Tuesday tags series for my Christmas tags for November and December. I hope you'll join me next Tuesday for another tag project. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now. Before I go, I just wanted to mention that registration has reopened for the 31 Days of Christmas Cards event that the creative design team and myself as a guest designer put on during the entire month of October, with videos each and every day showcasing new designs for Christmas cards. And this membership also includes a full printable PDF guide for all of the cards that is in full colour and has measurements and instructions. And of course, you'll be able to reference the videos as well with your membership. I'll put a link below to the registration for that event, and if you haven't done so already, I really hope you'll consider joining us.